Hello and welcome to the second episode of Live from the Filmstrip. I am your host, Christopher A. Padilla. Hi, how is everybody doing? Well, there's been a change. Uh, there's been a change in how I'm going to be producing this show moving forward. Uh, and it all sort of spawned from a conversation I had with the person over the weekend. Now, before I get into that, I just want to say this. If this person wasn't a close friend, I would have ignored them and or told them to go fuck themselves. As Sal Volcano and Brian Quinn would say on their podcast. Oh my god, What Say You? Sorry, What Say You? The What Say You podcast, which is a brilliant podcast. Love their attitude, love their content. Anyway, I would tell them to go fuck themselves, and I would have continued to do the show that I explained in episode 0. But I have to address this. So, over the weekend, I was figuring out what sort of content is going to be on these next few shows. That way I have an understanding of where this whole thing is going to go, and I have some sort of plan, right? So episode 3, I was going to rant about uh something that happened between me and this person and someone else, a third party, and the third party sounded almost exactly like the person I'm talking to. They both said the same things, and I reacted the same way to both. I had the same reaction. Now, the reason I decided to tell this person that I was going to talk about them on the show because I don't like assuming the level of people's offense based on my personal views, because I watch Your Mom's House. I hear a lot of offensive things on a lot of different podcasts, and I'm at the point now that if someone who I know decided to start a podcast and tell a story that involves me doing or saying something stupid, I wouldn't find that offensive. Now, that is not how everybody would feel. Most people, a lot of people, would be a little shy to have their business put out there for potentially, like, if you, I don't know how many people. I'm not even going to say that. I hate when people are like, potentially millions of people. No, the millions of people aren't going to listen to this shit. Okay, I get it. I get it. But whether it be one person or a dozen people, they don't want their shit out there. They don't want to to know that they're being portrayed, even though I'm not naming them, in a negative light. So I'm deciding to be even more transparent than I was in the 0 episode. And after I say this in this episode, I will not bring it up, and everybody will be on the same page equally. Sorry, that's my mini fridge. I need to unplug that shit because I can't have it clicking and stuff. It's bad enough I have trains and street racers, all this shit in the background. Which brings me to our next point. I'm gonna look into soundproofing everything, just top to bottom, figuring it out. But I decided to tell her because, like I said, I feel the more respectable thing to do is to let the person know, especially if you're really close friends with that person, that you're going to be brought up in a story. You're not going to be named, but I'm going to bring this up because it had a genuine effect on my emotions. Okay? Well, this person was starting to get upset, right? And this person wanted me to tell them what I was going to say. Now, for future reference, if anybody like I'm not going to have this conversation with anybody else on any topic. I'm not going to do this again. It's very not rude, but it's just annoying to be put on the spot and to be like, "Hey, tell me exactly what you're going to say on this podcast." Because as rough as this podcast is, I kind of have to get in the mode to be on mic. I have to get in this mindset. I have to think about what I'm talking about, and I have to hype myself up because these issues that I bring up or that I I, rant about, these issues have existed prior to that, like months prior, sometimes even, maybe even years at times. But I've dealt with them and I've moved past it. But I have to get in that mindset again in order to emote the feelings I was feeling at the time. So I pretty much give her a rough sort of like practice run, and she was getting upset. She was getting upset. She was getting annoyed. And she was upset and annoyed. And it's like she brought up like there's a reason why I I told this person. And they brought it they said that. They said that to me like you wouldn't have told me this if you didn't think that it was going to hurt some way. And I'm sitting here like that's not at all why I told you. That's not at all. Because here's the truth, folks. The here is the here's what it is. Okay, there's no other way that I can see this because in my experience, I've experienced both and it is a no-win situation. I did the respectable thing and told her that she was going to get brought up in a podcast. Oops, I wanted to make it, but it's a she. Okay, I told her that she was going to get brought up in a podcast. I'm pretty sure but what happened is she got upset and she told me, "Hey, just don't tell me next time." Which to me is a kind of, it's kind of that response is only valid in the in this particular instance. Like it would there's only two ways that it would go with her. Okay? It would have gone either I do what I thought was respectful, tell her, and then she gets mad, and then she tells me, just don't, just don't bring it, just don't tell me if you're going to talk about me, right? Or I don't tell her, I talk about her, she gets upset, and then she says, hey, next time, why don't you run it by me? Those are literally the two options that I was presented with. And I thought one of them was more respectable than the other. And it's like it's I know it's a no-win situation. I know that she's going to get upset either way. But I thought I'd get a little bit of credit for letting her know ahead of time, which I did. Now, I'm not going to talk about it. This was going to be on episode 3. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm moving past it, because if I do talk about it, I'm going to be pulling punches, and I don't want to be pulling punches. Here's the thing, folks. The butt of the joke is not the people I'm talking about. Yes, I am ranting about these people. I'm pointing out the flaws, or the things that get me riled up when they say shit to me. Like, that's what I'm doing. That's what I want to do. That's the concept of this show. But it's also, the butt of the joke is me. Because when you're looking and listening to these rants, I sound insane. I sound completely unhinged. And I know other people feel this way. I know other people have felt this level of just like, wow, this hit me this way, and I'm angry. I'm really upset. And I don't talk about it with the person I'm upset with. I just try to analyze it myself and try to figure out why is this upsetting me the way that it is, and then I move on. Okay? This is why I'm doing the show, because that side of me, that side of my personality, is something that I hate about myself. I hate that I have these crazy reactions. I hate that I get upset easily. Like, these are things that annoy the shit out of me. But I am putting this part of me out there first, because if I can talk about this, then there's nothing else that is off limits, and that is freeing for me. You know? Like, this podcast, getting up and talking to the ether, is therapeutic for me in a way that I haven't experienced. I'm only 2 episodes. I'm only, well, yeah, technically two. I'm 3 episodes in, but I actually feel good getting up in the morning and getting on mic and just talking. And that hasn't been something that I thought would make me feel as good as it does, but it does. And so, like, that's the point of the show. That's why I'm doing this. I'm very introverted. I don't like when I go, even when I go to people's houses who I've known since I was a kid, I'm still silent, because I just like listening. I just like hearing other people converse among each other and say funny things. I just like absorbing all of that. And to think that I'm now on a mic just talking to potentially anybody and everybody is frightening to me. This is genuinely scary, but also exciting. And look, guys, my parents aren't safe. Like, family member, like, everybody is going to end up on this podcast at some point that I care and love about. That's just how life is. And if they're not protected, then you should just let me do me. Just let me do me. You say that that's one of the best qualities that's one of the things that you like about me, is how much of an asshole I can be. Then let me be an asshole. Don't take anything I say seriously. Don't take anything I say personally. That was the point of the 0 episode, is that none of this is supposed to be taken seriously. And one of the things she said while I was doing the rant is, you didn't get, you left out a lot of facts. And I'm like, in my mind, this is my thought. I'm like, okay, how do you know these facts? Like, I know this person's life. She's going through I mean, hey, she's going through life, right? She has other responsibilities, other things occupying her mind. How can she remember facts from a minuscule conversation, like a passing conversation from months ago or a month ago? Like, there's so many things going on, and to think that she's going to paint an accurate picture of a quote for quote verbatim of whatever was said in said conversation is just like, come on, man. Just like, I'm trying to entertain people, okay? This is not a fact check podcast. Okay? I'm not Bob Ross. I'm not using this whole canvas to paint this incredibly detailed picture. This is meant to just show my just my ugly side. That's what this is. Okay? And like it or not, I mean, people in my life have said stupid shit. You've said stupid shit, the person I'm referring to. Everybody said stupid shit. I've said stupid shit. We're human. We all say stupid shit. Okay? We all have shit that and it's just like, you're not going to come out of this unscathed. And by unscathed, I mean, like, you're not going to come, like, this podcast is not gonna show mercy when it comes to the people that I love and care about. It's like, if I'm talking about you on the podcast, it's because you're close enough to me that you've you've you know done something. Like, everybody has pissed everybody off in their friend circle. It's happened all the time. Your best friends, your closest friends, your closest family members, it has always happened. Not everybody's walking around with a grin and just a happy demeanor about themselves. Sometimes you catch your friend on a bad fucking day, he or she's gonna give you a fucking reaction you're not fucking prepared for. And I'm here to talk about those reactions from my perspective. So I'm not gonna get all the facts right. I'm gonna just do the rant that was in my head when I heard this whole conversation and everything going on. That's what I'm gonna do. So, where do we stand now? This is the last time I'm going to address this. Okay? I am 3 episodes in. Okay? 3 episodes in. Give me time to grow. Give me time to figure out how to do all this shit, because I haven't done this before. This program I'm recording on, like, it's all a guessing game. I had to look up videos, and even then, a lot of it was guesstimation. I tried exporting so many times. Then I looked at the exporting app. I looked at everything, and I did things that and I hoped worked, and luckily they did. Because if they didn't, I'd still be figuring this shit out. So, please, I'm going to make a show that I want to make. And if you're not comfortable with possibly hearing a story of you may or may not being a moron or doing a moron thing or saying something moronic, it's just, then, like, I don't know, dude. I don't know, man. Just fucking don't be so serious. Don't take things so seriously. Don't take things literally. Don't take things personally. This is an entertainment show, okay? First and foremost. And I don't know. It just sucks because it's like, I've tried to be as clear as I can with my intentions with the zero episode. Like, but I don't understand why, like, certain people don't get it. Like, they don't understand. Oh, it's but luckily we moved past it. She gave me permission to tell the story. I might at some point, not anytime soon. it just took the wind out of it, which is why I don't like talking about it, which is why I don't think that I'm going to tell anybody else. I'm just going to do the dick thing and just put it out there. And if they have a problem with it, they can bring it up with me. If they're close enough with me, they can bring it up with me. We can have a conversation and I can show them this podcast so they can hear exactly what this podcast is about. So they can agree or they can just ignore and just not do it and then just move on. I don't know. That's up to them. But I need to just do this and not have to worry about other people's perception of this show and my perception of them on this show. This is not serious. This is entertainment. So that's how I'm going to end it. Okay? Now, I've decided when this conversation happened that I need to have a different approach to this podcast because a 10-minute review of something that I watched just so I can say the dirty shit that I want to say later and just rant is very, I don't, it's very negative. And I'm all about negativity, you know, with when it comes to rant. It's but for a podcast for people that are coming into this, it's just a lot of negativity, you know. 10 minutes and then I rant. And then it ends with me just rambling on about some other shit. I feel like it needs to be honed in a little more. I need to figure out I need to figure out which direction this show is going to continue to go. Because I'm still early enough to where not everybody nobody's listening to this. So I can afford to change it at this point. So what I've decided was I'm going to approach each show like I would a film. I'm going to open with a nice, hey, how are you? I hope everything's doing well in your life. And then go into whatever I want to go into as far as not rants, just like I'm playing around with the idea of just talking shop, talking about the screenplay that I'm writing, the crime slasher film, and uh and that experience and the hiccups that I'm going to be facing with that as I continue to write throughout the writing process, whatever. And then I review a film, a full review of a film that I love, because I think you need to see how I speak about things that I do love and cherish and want other people to see and want, nothing but success for them. Now, after that, the third act is going to be the rant. And my logic is you sat through the pleasantries of discussing a script. You've sat through the review, my views of the film and what I loved about the film. And there's going to be some things that I don't like, It's very rare that a film is perfect in my eyes. I can give you some examples of perfect films. The Lord of the Rings trilogy. Perfect. And the extended editions. Perfect. All fall under the same camp. But I think that system is going to be a bit more successful than just a 10-minute rant, boom, and then rambling on. There's some sort of structure, and there's some, it's a way to get people to be like, okay, if you really want to hear the rant, you're going to hear the rant. The rant's going to be there. So you can watch the rest of it, or you don't have to. That's fine. You don't have to listen to the rest. You got the review, you got the pleasantries, you got the positivity. If that's all you wanted, you got it. Okay, then the negative. Then the negative is going to come at you to close the show. So that's what we're going to doing. That's what we're going to be doing. And starting right now, we're going to get we're going to talk a little bit about uh, the crime slasher film that I'm making. Now, the working title for it is "Leave the Knife, Take the Cannolis." All right, yeah, it's a working title. That there's no way I'm keeping that. It's for those who don't know, that's a quote from The Godfather. Leave the gun, take the cannolis. And that was kind of that is kind of like the level of quality that I have envisioned for this crime slasher film. It's insane. It's insane the expectations I have for this particular film because it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous concept to approach a mob film as serious as Scorsese would do, but then add that wild card element of a slasher. That is, it's almost like trying to mix water and oil. It doesn't happen, right? Those two, that would be really really hard to do. Really, you have to be incredibly skilled, and I'm not saying that I'm skilled at all, but it is very challenging to write because you got to figure out how you're going to and how are you going to approach this, and how are you going to make it plausible. And that's the difficult part. That's the exciting part of this is you know the scripts I've written have come from my mind and inspiration of things that I've watched, and the things I'm working on are mm, eh, it's a lot to get into. It really is. But with something like this, it's it's not only more challenging because I know the worlds that I'm working with, that I've come up. This is not something that fits in the other things that I've written. You know, it's really unique in that I'm writing these dialogue scenes, right? And I'm writing these like the monologue, and I'm seeing them in my mind, and I know how I'm gonna light it. I know how I would, I'm seeing these conversations, and I, I'm I'm reading them, and they're like rough because first draft, but I can kind of see the kind of what direction I want to go with it. But then there's that slasher element that I need to work into it naturally. And that is where I am very stuck, but also just enjoying the fact that I'm stuck. If that makes any sense. I don't think it does. Nobody enjoys being stuck. Okay, ask the guy that had to cut off his arm, the 127 hours with James. Yeah, ask that fucking guy, you know? But I enjoy being stuck because it if you're stuck for a long enough time, the rest of your mind begins to work. And when that happens, when you go on that walk and you're walking or jogging or whatever, you're getting blood pumping, and your brain's working overtime trying to figure out how to fix this, how to fix that wild card. And I'm still stuck. I'm still stuck after, putting all my focus on it. It's really hard because here's the thing. It sets up a post heist. That's what happens. Essentially, um after the heist in Goodfellas, that's where I kind of got the inspiration from. It starts off post heist. So they've already got the money, they've already got everything, right? Now is when things start to shift Because, like Goodfellas, like that heist scene, people who have a lot of money in the crime world tend to be very, you know, money hungry because they have millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? They have heist levels amounts of money and they got to split it. I'm thinking there's gonna be seven guys. Seven guys that got split. You know, I don't have a dollar amount, but it is it is that stage that I'm setting. So we get to see each person existing with their money, right? Some are wiser than others. Others like to splurge, get diamonds and stuff. Cent- exactly like Goodfellas, you know, like which is my favorite scene. One of my favorite fucking scenes is my favorite character uh, in Goodfellas. Shit. Fuck, I gotta look him up. Sorry, guys, I should have looked this up. I didn't know I was going to talk about this in this level of detail. Um, but this actor, he is like in every crime. Um, Frank Severo, um, Frankie Carbone, you know, the guy with kind of like the afro, the one who's playing poker and they shoot Spider in the foot, and he's like, "Nice fucking game, nice fucking game." Because of that line, that's why I love him so much. And this scene, he walks in with his wife, who's in a who's in a fur coat, and De Niro is already pissed off at the fact that the other guy bought a pink Cadillac, and he just looks at his wife. He just looks at the dude's wife, and he's like, "No, no, 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 no! You gotta take this off." And he starts taking off the fur, and he's just like, "Wait, what are you, stupid? What, you know?" And his wife, he's trying to talk to his wife as he's pushing her out the door. The whole scene is perfect. It is perfect. So I wanted that, but on this level. Now, here's where I think the slasher element comes in. Because to me, I feel like the heist, post heist, delves into that crime world. You know, it's very crime. I want it put together as it would be a crime film, right? Now, everybody gets to live with their money for a little bit. I don't know how long, but then each of them start to get picked off. You know, I like that idea, but it could be a little bit more thought out. You know, like there could be another element there that I'm missing. I need to know why this serial killer is after them. Now, I've wrestled with the idea of a victim of the heist is uh like one of the casualties of the heist was essentially like like Jason's mom. That's it. She's going to this bank because she's gonna take out money for her son, so he can, you know, he's in the son is in the insane asylum, and that's when, you know, he's waiting for her. You know, it's one thing that brings him joy, seeing his mom, you know, and she gets killed in the crossfire. She gets killed by the mob guys. And this gets back to him. He breaks out and then he goes after each of them. Or he's released. I think that's what I think. I think he's released. I think he puts on a show to make him seem like he's sane. You don't know what he looks like. You don't know who he is. You really can't pick out his features. Now this is where I delved into my mind a little bit further, and I was like, okay, it would be cool. It would be interesting if I put him in the background of certain scenes of dialogue. Maybe in a restaurant, maybe outside in the world, but like you not enough to where you notice right away, just enough to where you're like, I've seen that guy before in an earlier scene. Like, then they rewind, then you see him, kind of stalking, right? And then, he gets a mask and does all that stuff, and that is kind of the direction I was thinking about going. But then, I was like, how does he know that these guys, the mob, did it? There wouldn't be any information like that on the news. So how would they? So I flirted with the idea of like her making a phone call and he, FaceTime. I don't know. I see these are the roadblocks that I hit, and I just can't get myself out of them for whatever reason. Um, so that's where I'm at right now. Now obviously it can change as time goes on, but I really like the idea of that heist because it sets up a misdirect. It sets up instead of building towards it, you're already in it, and it's kind of already the ball's already rolling down the lane. It's about to hit the pins. So that's the vibe that I wanted to get. And then each of them you get to see living their life, having fun, and then death, and then violence and murder and shit. Now, again, I'm not gonna ignore. Now, there are some funny parts, unintentionally funny part. Like, I want to put funny things in it, but I don't want it to be funny. I don't want it to not be taken seriously. I want it to be a mix of very dark humor, but also, oh my god, guys, that's the train. Now, I'm not going to edit it. Most professional podcasts would edit that out, but this is not. This is not as professional, because guys, this is, like I said, this is life and it's random. You just got to go with it. You're gonna probably hear a train again because it's 1:30 in the morning, and they like to do business at night when it's not so busy. So I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry if you hear a train in the background, and that's a helicopter or a plane, something. There's a bunch of sounds that occupy this area, so please, please bear with them. Yeah. It's insane. It's insane. These two sounds are clashing with each other, and I hear them through because I'm wearing headphones, and I hear them, and I hope they're not as annoying and loud as I'm hearing them. They probably are. Why the fuck does he have to hold on the horn like that? Like why? Why does he's gonna be doing it again? Why? Why does nobody know that a train is coming? Can they not tell? Do they have to do that? Is that some sort of signal to like the station or whatever to that, oh, they're on their way? Is that why they do the horn shit? I never understood that. Like it's just random horns. But I guess I should pay attention and see if they do it at the same time. Because if they do it at the same time, that means they have to do it. Because they're not doing it now. And I think they're going to do it later, if I remember. God, man, I don't fucking know. Anyway. So that's where I am, folks, on the script. And I'll get more in detail with it as I go on. But that's that's what I feel like sharing at the moment. So, okay, we're gonna move on to the review episode of this this podcast, and I might wrap it because I don't think a rant is is gonna be able to fit in this episode because I don't know how long this review is gonna take, and I'm already at 40 minutes. So I think the rant is going to be the beginning in this particular case, in that introduction, and then the second act is going to be the script, and then the third act is going to be the review. So it's backwards this episode, folks. I'm sorry. Uh, we'll be more. It'll be more. It's going to be the third act starting episode 3, where again, open up with the script, how you doing, everything, then review, then rant. So bear with me, folks. Growing pains. So, the movie I want to talk about, which you've probably seen the title for already, it's Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor. Or Possessor Uncut if you're in the US, which, I don't know. I kind of just like Possessor. Uncut, maybe. Uh, Maybe there are 2 versions of it. They make it a point to say that this is the director's vision. This is what he wanted. So already I'm connected to that because I love when directors, come in and they make the film that they want to make. They release one version and then they release their director's cut. I always find those fascinating because it adds something else to the film, whatever that is. It's not just scenes, it's just this is what he wanted. If there was no studio interference, nothing like that, this is how he wanted people to see it. And that's why I tend to lean towards more director's cuts than not. I'm well aware there's some director's cuts that are not good. I've heard various things about different ones, but for the most part, for me, the director's cut, maybe aside from Blade Runner, I like the final cut better. But it's neither here nor there. We're talking about Possessor, written and directed by Brandon Cronenberg. And if Cronenberg sounds familiar, it should. If you're a cinephile or a film buff, you know that name anywhere. And he is the son of David Cronenberg, uh, who is an, a very interesting horror director who who makes just some very gross visual effects look so fascinating and intriguing. Like, he directed the remake of The Fly with Jeff Goldblum that was produced by Mel Brooks. People thought it was a comedy when they went to go see The Fly, and good God, yeah, The Fly is an extremely gross film to watch. And so, going into this film and seeing the poster, which I'll uh, I'll tweet out at Film H Studios. That poster is very disturbing, and it just sits with me in a way that's just it it's unsettling. And I'll just describe it to you. I might try to post it on this video if I can. It like I said, it's about to be 2, and this has to be out at 10, so I don't want to stay up too late and mess around with it. I got to render it, got me, but I'll see what I can do. Anyway, the poster is of a melting woman's face, and it's just this person grabbing it, it just looks so disgusting. Now, the film stars. Hold on, let me get this. Let me get this out, folks. I gotta I gotta read off my phone because I just want to make sure that I'm always kind of recording. Hold on, 1 second. Because there were times when I wasn't on this screen and it was just no, it wasn't happening. It wasn't recording. I don't know why. Should have investigated. But it stars Andrea Riseborough, who is part of this assassin guild, if that makes any sense, who kind of merge into a person's consciousness via a chip in their head, and they control this person to perform these high profile hits on corporate leaders before, and the possessor, once they're done with the job, has to pull the trigger in order to desynchronize and, you know, get out of the machine, essentially. Now, if you stay in the machine for a long time, suffer brain damage, it's a story point, but that concept is so fascinating. And seeing bits of tech in this future world is just as fascinating as the tech that puts her into the other person's consciousness to where she can be able to control them. This doesn't explain how it happens. They visually tell you in their own very weird, bizarre, just unsettling kind of way. I don't know how to explain it, and I wouldn't want to try because it's probably one of the more fascinating parts of the film is seeing that process, what that, how that happens. And Jennifer Jason Lee is it, I think, yeah. Oh my god, yes. Lay or Lee, one of the two. Uh she's her boss. And so she has to, every time she comes out, she has to go through a series of tests to make sure that she is not, slowly going insane every time she does it. She has like familiar objects and whatnot. But this film does everything I like in science fiction films. And that is like, there's no real explanation as to the tech that's available. You don't know when this takes place. You don't know how far in the future this takes place, but you get glimpses of the tech that exists in this world, and that's what I love. Because it's not just the machine that they put all the creative juices in. They put it in this data farming machine where you're wearing these goggles and it's like you're speaking and you're looking at for objects in these images, and it's just it's so cool because I don't need to know what exactly it does. It doesn't have to, you don't have to hold my hand through every little bit of tech that is in your film, in a science fiction film. Just give me the basic, just cliff notes, and I will be pleased. Because I just love different elements of world building that are just brief, not major plot points. Now, The third act, I would say, is probably the 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 thing that pushed this film above any other films that I've seen this year. And while the films I have seen in this category, it would closest thing would be The Rental by Dave Franco in his directorial debut. It's a horror film about, you know, people renting an Airbnb and then being stalked by a killer. It's very simple. It's not too scary. It's not as scary as, as I thought it was going to be, but it's a very slow, just art film, just character piece. I don't know, but that was up there. It was a great debut, and I love the way it was lit. I love the cast. Everything was great about that film. And then I saw this. This third act was one of the best third acts I've seen in a long time. Now, the the same can be said for how I love The Irishman, last year. That I love every bit of The Irishman. I've watched it total about 10 times. Now, when you think about how long that movie is, 10 times is a bit excessive. But again, I'm a huge Scorsese fan. I'm a huge Goodfellas fan. Watching Goodfellas, then watching Irishman, perfect double feature, the best double feature out there. But this third act was the was a crown achievement in my eyes, because this film at its core is very cynical. It's very cold. And you get that feeling that it's cold and cynical. You get that from the first kill. And the momentum of that second act, it kept it going, right? And now you get to your third act. Now, this, having seen all that I'd seen up until that point, this moment could potentially make or break the rest of the film for me. Because there needs to be something there that just sends this into something else. Because you're you're seeing the you're seeing the first act and the second act. You're seeing her, like, you're seeing all this shit happen, all this crazy weird shit, dark violence. And I don't even want to get into how practical visual effects are used in this film. And that poster scene, the scene that you see in the poster, that the start of that scene before it gets to the melting face is so fucked up. Oh man. But then that third act. Now, I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, because I think that you need to see it. You need to see it. You need to experience it yourself, because it keeps that tone. And where it ends is so perfect that I really wanted to continue to see this world. I honest to God would like a sequel, but not so much. It can be, from the corporation that she's a part of, but I also just want to see more of the world and more of these assassins, and I want to see that. I want to just see how, like, maybe it could be like not an well, an anthology of sorts, yeah, where it focuses on another assassin, maybe someone who is just starting. Like, what is the beginning of this journey look like? You know, like the first scar, the first, it could be the opposite of this film, where this film started out so cold and everything, bleak and everything. This other film, the sequel to the anthology, could be more could be happier, could be this opportunity that this young person is excited for, this new company that's coming up that is doing this, that, and the other. And because of certain attributes that this person possesses, they take interest in them, they recruit them, and then they slowly introduce them into this world, into this narrative that they're building. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like when they're going over the plan of the assassination, on how they're going to assassinate this big CEO for this data farming place that is played by none other, okay? None other than the man who literally just dies in everything he is. He's in Sean Bean, who just brings this CEO persona of just cockiness and arrogance, and then the tension between, again, I don't want to spoil anything. In fact, don't even watch the trailer for this movie. Like, go in completely cold. That's what I wish I had done. The problem with this is I saw a trailer, I think maybe a year ago, maybe more. Like, people were talking about it who saw it in festivals. And I saw the trailer, like, wow, I want to see that because of Cronenberg, because of the name. And I'm like, whatever, I'll see it whenever it comes out. It was on Vudu. I never do this. I never just buy films um, that I'm not familiar with. I just think it's too risky. But sometimes you gotta just fucking roll the dice and take a chance, and I did, and it was the best risk I've taken. It's definitely worth the I forgot how much it was. It was didn't break the bank. Okay, it was very reasonable, and it is now a film that I am going to suggest when I hang out with people who want to see something different. This is that movie. This is that different that I think would. Now, here's the thing: if you're not into doom and gloom, avoid this, because it is not a happy movie. It is not a feel good movie. There's no happiness in this whatsoever. There's no jokes. There's nothing that make you feel like, you can find something happy and play. It's very, like I said, cynical, dark, cold. And it just keeps it at that tone throughout the whole film. And like, I wouldn't get this excited about it if more films were able to pull this type of feeling off. I think the only thing that I saw outside of this that is that same tone is Utopia on Amazon Prime, the American remake. I'm watching the UK version. I'm always a fan of watching the UK stuff before American stuff, but the American version of Utopia is the same. there's no funny, happy moments. It's just despair and cold and cynical and just not happy. And for a show to do that, that's impressive too, because there are so many opportunities where they could cut the tension and do something, something that's goofy, to make it more lighthearted, but they don't do that. Or if they do that, it's not in any way outbalancing the the bad. And that's what so many shows tend to do is they go too dark. Oh, we got to bring up the jokes. That way it's balanced. That way people aren't constantly depressed. But sometimes people want to feel that way. Sometimes they want to feel just not bad, just feels just like, wow, they went there. They could have gone this way. They could have made this a bit happier for us, but no, they were pretty much like, fuck you. That's what they were. They were just like, fuck you. We're gonna make the film that we're gonna make, the show that we're gonna make, and you can like it. You don't have to like it. It's gonna be. That's why when you look at the reviews for Utopia, I think it's like at 3 stars, or maybe it's gone up, but like it's at 3 stars, and I think that's because there's too many people um expecting that happiness, and they don't get it. And so they're like, yeah, that this show was just too much. I couldn't handle it. 3 stars. Same with this one. This one I think has 4 stars. Which again, I can only attribute those stars are the people that don't like how this film made them feel. And thankfully, I am not one of those people. I loved this film. This is probably my top. This is my number one film of 2020. Uh, Hands down. This may even be one of my top science fiction, definitely top films of this decade, of this new decade. I know that's bold to say now because we're just in 2020, you know? Come on, you gotta just, you can't do this, man. This is, but no, this is going on my best of the decade because I love it so much. But I would recommend this highly to anybody who likes science fiction, who likes body horror, who likes practical effects, who likes a bit of experimental with the visual effects, but still, you know, still has that mainstream appeal. Now, there's one thing that I didn't like, um, direction wise. One thing, and that is there's a scene when she's about to do a jump, and the doctor who's putting her under, the scientist guy who's controlling the machine, she says something like, hey, put me in as deep as you can. Just deep. I don't want to wake up from. And then he's like, yeah, I'll do that. And then he says, don't forget to pull the trigger when the time comes. Now, he's referring to something that happened in the opening act. She tried to kill herself, to desync, but she couldn't do it. And then the cops came, she aimed the gun at them, and then she got killed. And then boom, she she unsyncs. So the doctor says that. Now, her for me, he should have just said that, And then the next line for her is like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? But he makes it a point to make a gun with his hand and put it in his mouth. And he's in front of her. He's looking down at her. And then she delivers a line, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Now, maybe I missed something. I might have missed something. Maybe she can't see anything when she's in this machine, you know? Maybe, but I'm like, maybe not. I don't know. Because it looks like she can see. That, putting the gun in your mouth, that's a little bit overkill. It would have been better if you just said it as a comment, just to kind of be like, yeah. And don't forget to pull the trigger when the time comes. And then she says her line, and other than that, that's it. But yeah, wow, that's the end of episode 2. I give Possessor 5 out of 5 stars, and please, if you see it, let me know on Twitter at Film Age Studios, or follow me on Instagram at Film Age Studios. Thank you for listening to another episode of Live from the Filmstrip. I am your host, Christopher A. Padilla, signing off.